Greetings, everyone. Welcome to Artcasters number 364. We have one returning guest, one new guest, but this is something I'm excited about, super excited about. And I was excited the last time they came on because they had hinted at something that was going to happen, and now it's happening. So that's awesome. So we will get to that in a minute, but we're going to do what we always do. We'll just kind of go around the room and introduce ourselves. So I'm Scott Circlin. You can find me here on this channel. This is my YouTube channel where you'll also find tons of other video full of art and advice for people wanting to do art for a living, make it a business, or just have fun doing art as well. And there's a lot of comic book content on this channel. And specifically my series Making Comics 101. It's the most comprehensive free course that you're going to find on making comics on YouTube. So definitely check that out if you haven't already. Other than that, you can go to my website at circbooks.com, and you can find a number of digital products that are going to help you create comics, digital tools and things like that. And you also find my comic book, Young and the Dead. It's a kids versus zombie adventure story. Just think Goonies meets Night of the Living Dead. So you can check that out. So I'm going to move over to Corey. Corey, what's going on over there?
Same stuff as normal. You can grab my stuff at coreykerr.com, and I've got shirts and mugs and hoodies and other things with cool designs. And if you want to know the kind of meaning behind the designs, you can jump onto the email newsletter there, and that'll kind of have video essays of some of the different things and kind of what the meaning of those things are. I just got some, I'm testing out some dye sublimation process right now as well too. So those ones on the shop are going to be DTG, pretty good quality as well. So check that out. Josh, how about you?
Awesome. So I am streaming a ton on YouTube on Joshua Kemble, ranging from working on comics to playing extremely intense games of Risk on my quest to become a grandmaster, to watching weird debates and stuff like that and doing live commentary. So if you're interested in that, make sure you're following me on YouTube. And then outside of that, I also make graphic novels. And so definitely make sure you pick up 2 Stories as well as Jacob's Apartment, my 2 graphic novels that are out. 2 Stories is a comic about faith and mental illness that tries to destigmatize hard conversations about mental illness and issues like that. And then Jacob's Apartment is a slice of life story about 2 roommates that are polar opposites that find themselves drawn together, and as in their young adulthood, and as they are drawn together in both dreams and reality start interweaving. So it's like if you took Eternal Sunshine for the Spotless Mind, put it in a blender with Ghost World, and you like that flavor, that would be the book. So those are my wares and all that stuff. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna go to Craig. We haven't had Craig on the show, but the reason why I want to go to Craig is because Craig, I don't know if you know this, but I just found this out today when I read your email. But you and Josh have something in common. You guys are both Xeric Award winners. Did you know
that? I did not know that, but
well, you knew you were.
I'm sure mine was a lot longer ago than Josh's.
Well, it's been a while since they've even had it, so
absolutely. And it's this weird sort of surreal thing to forever be linked with Peter Laird, and now to be forever linked with Karloff. My Xeric was for the Bronte's Infernal Angria, which was drawn by Rick Geary.
Nice.
It's like The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe meets the real story of the Bronte sisters. It's that is what started my comics writing career, and it's sad that the Xeric Grant isn't around anymore, because it did, I think, get so many people introduced into making comics. Josh, I would love to hear at some point how it helped you get into it, but that was kind of my first foray, and I've been making comics ever since, which nice. You can find at hspcomics.com. I am probably best known for the Brontes or for Some Strange Disturbances, which is a Victorian horror book that I've been doing for a couple of years now. Obviously, I've got Karloff coming up. I've got a little short story and that one with my longtime collaborator Jock, not Jock, but Jok. And I'm excited to be here. Thank you all for having me. I'm looking forward to chatting about what's coming up with Arnold and the Gold Key guys.
Awesome. So Arnold, you have been on the show. We talked about you guys bringing back Gold Key Comics. So you're a part owner and what, creative director over there, or?
Creative director. Yeah, was the graphic design guy mostly. Jack of all trades sometimes.
And I've known Arnold for a long time. So and it just so happens that he lives not too far away, and he just opened. You can see in the background there's comics. He actually just recently opened a comic book shop in addition to relaunching Gold Key. So some exciting stuff going on there. So that's one new development since we had you on the show. But what's I don't know what's the other thing going on? What do you have to kind of announce?
Well, finally, after a year, you were the first podcast we'd ever done, kind of out of the gate. But yeah, finally, we're about to launch the Kickstarter so that we can kind of crowdfund and help start the Boris Karloff Gold Key Mysteries. So, like the old Boris Karloff Dozen Mysteries, we couldn't acquire exactly the whole name, but we did acquire the rights to Boris Karloff, and so it's a horror anthology in the same spirit and vein of the old one, but with a hugely talented group of creators to put out all new stories, and we're extremely excited.
Do you have a date that it's going to launch? There is a link to the campaign right now. It's just you go in there, you click on the link to be notified when it goes live and everything. But do you know when you guys are going to launch it, or a rough estimate?
Yep, this coming up Tuesday, the 28th.
Oh, cool! Awesome.
Pretty cool.
Exciting. Yeah, I can't wait. I have been waiting for a while. I mean, I even got the Gold Key shirt, the merch, and everything. So,
heck yeah.
So I guess let's start off and kind of we talked a little about how you guys acquired Gold Key last time around. But since then, I mean, you started production. I mean, at the time, I couldn't remember if you hinted maybe you were talking to Karloff's estate or not. But let's talk about, first of all, how that kind of came to be.
Well, the partner Adam, he had the brilliant idea to simply reach out. We talked about having these legacy titles and just acquiring them as we go along. And so he reached out to the estate and turned out there's no middleman. You're talking right to Sarah Karloff, who owns Boris's daughter, and she was very excited to hear about it. And we worked out a contract, and we've been rolling ever since. And there was a really great. I don't know if we talked before, but Lance had met Michael Conrad at a con. I think it was in Anaheim at the WonderCon, which is coming up soon. And that was the greatest that could have happened to us because he was on board. Him and Lance hit it off. We all went out that night, and through Michael Conrad, he says, "I have the perfect editor for you," and that was Zane Barrow. And Zane is amazing. He's like a Swiss Army knife, and he brought in many of the creators, including Craig. So yeah, Zane's like the most valuable asset that Gold Key has, to be honest.
Awesome. So, well, do you know what are you going to be launching with? Is it a single issue? Is it a series of issues, or?
So it's a horror anthology, but in this one, instead of just Karloff being a horror host, he's actually going to be in the first story. So it'll be an ongoing story, and it's pretty incredible. That's the one written by Michael Conrad. So that first one will be ongoing, and then we'll have 2 or 3 short stories in each book. And so this first one that we're launching it's what you call an artist edition. We're calling it the Gold Edition. So there are artist notes, there are sketches,
cool.
Interviews with the creators that we're going to put in there. So it's going to be a pretty special book.
So is it a floppy, or is it like a larger book than like you typically get, like a monthly issue, or?
I think it'll be a larger issue. It'll be in between a floppy and a trade paperback.
Okay,
For this first one, but the ongoing series will be floppies.
cool, awesome. Man, yeah, I'm excited. I'm also excited, kind of what else is happening other than with any other titles or whatever. But so I want to shoot over to Craig and find out. So you mentioned you were sort of introduced by Michael, right? So
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I met Michael right as at the last show I was able to do before the pandemic kicked off. So I met Michael at Genghis Khan in Cleveland. And very similarly to what Arnold described, just really hit it off with him. We shared our mutual love of the Doom Patrol, and Michael had just co-written issue 5 of Doom Patrol at that point. And we just continued to chat and become good friends during the pandemic. And we've worked on a couple of things together. And he and Zane asked if I would be interested in doing this. And I was like, would I? So it's been just a real kismet. And I think one of the things that is such a rich part of this experience, like even just being here chatting with you all, you described, you've known Arnold for some time, and Arnold and the rest of the crew at Gold Key have been friends and colleagues for a long time. It's just been such a amazing sense of community that is feeding into this and is coming out of it. And that's really been invigorating to me, not just making the book itself, but that sense of community that you really see at all levels of the production that's been going on. One other thing I would say, the great thing about this Kickstarter, it'll be a little bit different than the issue that is released in stores. And Arnold, you correct me if I'm wrong. But this artist edition really is like the true behind the scenes. If you really love comics and you really want to know how the sausage is made, you really want to get this artist edition that's going to be released through the Kickstarter. It's going to have thumbnail pages. It's going to have like sort of editorial commentary. It'll really give you the behind the scenes of how the book was made. So I can't encourage you all enough to start following the campaign page right now. And thank you to those of you that already have. And that's going to be a real special edition that you'll get through the campaign.
Yeah. So Arnold, with all this back matter and everything in the book, do you kind of go, because there's such an interesting story, kind of just how you're bringing Gold Key back. Do you get to you talk a little bit about that too, or is it strictly just the Karloff book itself that you kind of go behind the scenes with?
I imagine that we haven't written that yet, but I imagine there'll be some talking about how that's our first issue and how proud we are. I wouldn't have, if you asked me a year ago if I could bring back a Lucy title, what would it be? I might not have said Boris Karloff, but I certainly would now. We spent the weekend, actually this weekend, we spent it actually with Sarah Karloff. We got to hang out with her and went to dinner with her and drank a lot with her. She's the coolest. If not person, she's definitely the coolest 84-year-old on the planet. She was just amazing to me. And but the way she talks about her father and the things I found out about him, if any of us weren't just absolute diehard fans, we all are now. And certainly for Mike Dines, one of the partners, he was already like Boris was everything to him. So he was just on cloud nine the whole time.
That's exciting. So kind of similar to that. I mean, just that I kind of had the same, fondness for Gold Key itself and knowing that it came back and everything. So I'm curious, Craig, what's your familiarity before all this happened with Gold Key and if any?
Oh gosh, I have loved comics my whole life, and while I did miss the first round, I'm a gentleman of a certain age, but I'm not a gentleman of that certain age. But probably some of the like mid '70s Gold Key books I was seeing as they were coming out, um, and so you know, I think a real affinity for the variety of titles that
Yeah,
he did. I mean, it wasn't just one thing. They were sort of the masters of all genres of types of stories
exactly.
that comics could present, and in a way that was very different than our sort of traditional model, which was Marvel and DC being really focused on superheroes. Gold Key had a way of presenting all of the like the animated titles and adventure titles and horror titles. It just, that was such a difference, and I remember it very tangibly from my early days of just reading comics. And so yeah, I was very familiar with the brand. I was very excited to learn that Arnold and the guys had uh, done the behind the scenes work to bring Gold Key back. It's, it's an iconic logo. It's sort of like coming home, if you will, in a
Yeah.
way. I don't know any other way to describe it than that.
Yeah, and Arnold's done a great job keeping that, keeping that, and also, updating a little bit, but still having that classic look. But
Yep.
yeah, the thing that's really cool, that I like what you said, Greg, about the different titles from, the Disney and Hanna-Barbera stuff to the horror and the thing that was cool was it was all under the same banner. Like if Marvel was to do like Funny Animals, it would be on a totally different thing. Like it would be a Star Comics or something. But
Yep.
but they're able to put all that stuff together and it still worked. And the design aesthetic of Gold Q is just top notch, from their painted covers to the graphic the really graphic designed,
Yeah.
A lot of just awesome typography and everything. It just had this look that, unless you say like a Dell or something, which is kind of the same thing, kind of I forgot where they've changed names and stuff, but those, Dell and Gold Key and all that stuff, they had that look that you don't see so much. So how is that going to translate into the Karloff book, Arnold? Are you still keeping a lot of that, or can you? I mean, you mentioned you couldn't get the exact same, like, what was it? Was it originally Boris Karloff Presents, or?
It was Tales of Mystery.
Okay,
Boris
Tales of Mystery,
Karloff's.
that's right. Yeah.
And really just so one of our partners is a lawyer, so he's very, very careful. And it's just, just in case, we're not going to name it exactly, because we definitely have rights
Right.
to Boris Karloff. And so it's Gold Key Mysteries. And honestly, Boris was it's funny now because we've tapped into the Boris vein. He's a very serious actor. And, before he played Frankenstein, he had 80 movies under his belt. That was like his 81st movie, and no one had heard of him.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and he was in silent films. He was on Broadway and at vaudeville, and it's just so we want to create something that like he would have liked, and so that's why we're just thrilled to have writers that we do, because we don't want to put out a nostalgic piece that somebody would buy just because, oh look, there's a new key, what a gimmick, that's great. We want to have just some great quality content that's going to have legs for well beyond the just the wow factor that it's back. So it's pleasing Boris right now is Boris Karloff is our goal.
I will add to what Arnold just said. I saw a rough cut of the book this morning, and what is amazing is that the sensibility of the book is true to the original Karloff title, but it's updated in a really fresh way, not only just given Michael's frame story about Karloff, the character, being involved in this ongoing story, but even the art styles themselves. Like each story looks and feels very different and very unique, which is also something that I think the Gold Key guys are really just upping the game in terms of thinking very visually about the unique types of stories and storytellers that the book is going to feature. So the art style itself is modern, but also you can tell the where each story ends and begins, because the art styles themselves are truly unique to the artists.
So oh, go ahead, Arnold.
I was going to ask Craig if he was able to check out. I'm going to butcher this name. Artium Art.
Yes. I was familiar with him before, and I just seeing his story in the rough cut was just so much excitement on my part to see that. It looks fantastic.
Yeah. So what was I? First, I'll just address this real quick. Craig, you had a question from the chat.
Oh, great.
They want to know what's hanging on the wall right behind you.
It is the University of Michigan Law School's photo from 1950.
Awesome. Very cool.
I don't know anyone that was at the University of Michigan at that time, so please don't ask me my connection to it.
Okay, well that was going to be it, but you answered that. So as far as now, we know we've got a number of different writers, and you mentioned the art style. Is it one artist that's working on the book, or do we have different artists working on the different stories?
It's different artists. So Michael is doing the frame story with and this was the first time I had seen his work. I believe his name is Jordy.
I think that's it.
Okay. Which like it's so good. Like you always love to discover or at least for me, I love to discover someone new who's really exciting to me, and that story really stood out to me. So I'm looking forward to seeing how the main story develops. On my story, like I said, Jock is the artist. Jock and I have known each other for a long time. We actually started our comics careers together. He's an artist out of Argentina, and I have worked with his studio mates and him for many, many years. He's got a new book coming out this summer from Image Comics called In Hell We Fight, with John Layman, who created Chew. So Jock is an artist on the move. Jock's someone to keep an eye on. And so I'm excited. This will be our first collaboration, our first time of being able to work together. So it makes this project really special to me too, that this will be our first time working together. Arnold mentioned Artyom, who is working with Steve Orlando, who's currently writing Marauders for Marvel. Again, just such a unique, beautiful story that you're going to get there. So yeah, all of the artists on each of the stories are different.
So Arnold, how do you go about, like soliciting the artist? Or I mean, do they just hear about Gold Key and just like, oh, I want to be part of this? Are you going out and finding artists, or how does that whole process work?
We have a couple of artists here, a couple that are local that we're using, not in this title, but probably in issue 2. But mostly it was Michael and Zane that were showing us sample art and asking us if we liked it, and really recommending certain people and how they'd be perfect. And Zane, like I said, Zane was just amazing. So kind of trusting our editor and having some input there and just finding the right people to that process. So one interesting thing about Artyom is in the middle of this, he had to escape Ukraine. And so we had a big pause there. Yeah. And so he was able to settle down in another country and get back to work on the book. It was just, we were just praying for him out here for sure.
Yeah.
But, everything about it and what he produced is just amazing.
Yeah, I'm so excited to see all this. So we talked a little bit about sort of the kind of famous cover art that Gold Key had. So what can we expect for the cover for this book? Because I haven't seen anything of it yet. So I'm just kind of curious. Like, are we getting a painted cover? Or is it more of that more graphic look to it, or something in between, or what can we expect from like the covers for this book?
That's been another process. So we've committed to every issue that we do is going to have a painted cover, and so not the cartoon book. So we will have a couple of cartoon books that harken back, but we do want painted covers. And I think we've settled on an artist there. I think Mike found one that was great that he's been talking with. The cover that we have for this one is an artist by the name of Johnny Dombrowski, and his work with halftone is just perfect for Gold Key. So we're really happy with the way that turned out as well.
Awesome. That sounds exciting. So, I mean, I'll kind of segue into, because I also want to talk about what you can talk about beyond this first initial launch. I mean, you mentioned that you are going to do some of the cartoon books as well. Are you looking at other licensing? Are you looking, other licenses? Are you looking at, original as a mix of both? I mean, what's the direction we can kind of plan to see Gold Key go into?
For as far as original titles, we have about, I think, 4 or 5 issues written of our original title that will be focused on once Boris is out and once the Kickstarter's over. We have another legacy title that actually one of the creators was able to kind of corral, and that's bringing it to Gold Key. Like, I want to say two days ago, we got the green light from a legacy title that is so nostalgic. I wish I could tell you, but it's just
I can't wait.
Flip their lids when they hear about.
Oh man, I can't wait. All right,
yeah. As far as the cartoon stuff, there's a certain creator that Lance really loves, and he'd probably be mad if I said who it was, because then the guy's schedule is really going to be full.
You don't have to mention it then.
Yeah, definitely a Gold Key style there too.
Is that a licensed book, or is it just an original character?
So this artist has it would be like shovel ready. I believe he's created already. So.
Man, I love that you're diving back into some of these legacy titles, but then you're taking the spirit and you're getting ready to launch some new stuff too. So, man, I wish it wasn't so cryptic. So how far away are after this initial launch with the Boris Karloff book till we start seeing stuff on the shelves and are we going to have to wait a while for that, or how far along are you with some of this stuff?
I don't think it's going to be. I think the real advantage of having that iconic logo with Gold Key is I think some of the hurdling. So everyone's like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do for distribution? Do you have your distribution down? And we're fielding calls from people that want to distribute the book. So
that's great.
That's the real lucky there.
That's amazing.
So it's not going to be long to have some books on the shelf.
Awesome. I mean, I'm sure I'll know where to find them. if they aren't on every comic store, I know one that'll have them in stock for sure. So I mean, the four founders.
Wait, Scott.
Yeah, go ahead.
You can't just tease the comic shop.
Yeah. Well,
this is a new comic shop. Name the shop, dude.
Well, okay. All right. Well, I have a shirt for the shop too. It's Ghost Catholics Comics. But go ahead.
Nice.
I mean, for people that are local to Arizona, tell us about your shop, Arnold, and kind of what you specialize in and everything.
Ghost Cactus Comics. I started it almost a year ago, and by one of my best friends, the other owners of Gold Key, Lance, he was selling books too. He has a warehouse down the street, and so we're both kind of not competing with each other because he was more online sale and he had a warehouse full of books. And so it was a couple of months ago we said, hey, let's just combine forces, and what's mine is yours, what's yours is mine. So we've been doing that for a couple of months now, and it's been working out great. But we're at the brick and mortar is at 99th Avenue and Bell Road. It's in Sun City, in which it's funny because I'll have Sun City is one of the largest retirement communities in the United States, and for the longest time it was the largest.
Yeah.
And so I have these awesome Sun City residents will come in with big totes, and they just walk in like, these are old Spider-Man. They're probably not worth anything, And then they say, why the heck did you open in Sun City? I was like, you're looking at it, buddy. This is exactly why I'm in Sun City. So it's a lot of fun. My in-laws' restaurant's right next door too, so that's a big advantage.
But because you might think that's kind of, I mean, even though the core kind of comic book fan is getting older now, but beyond that, I mean, you specialize in more of the collectibles, right? I mean, collectible comics. I mean, do you even sell like new comics? I mean, you're not like a Wednesday Warrior type shop, right?
I have a few. We do order from Lunar and Diamond, so I have a few people that I'm filling some subscriptions for, but we're not a big new bookstore whatsoever. We're mostly bronze and silver, and of course I have about 100 keys up on the wall as decoration. So,
and I'll just give a shout out to the Gold Key Instagram account, because if you really want to see some of the deep cuts that Arnold and the guys have, you should be following their Instagram account, because I love seeing you all post those deep cut old school covers. Love it.
And that's why I know that this brand and this company is in good hands, because I know Arnold and I've got to meet the other three partners, and you guys are all huge comic fans. I mean, it's not like in the 90s where you just had these kind of venture capitalist guys like, oh, comics are big, so we're going to go into it. We're going to just mine these for all these. Yeah. I mean, these guys I'll
just tell a quick story. I had a meeting with the guys, and that love of comics was tangible. There is no one more excited about doing this than the Gold Key guys, and there's no one who wants the book to be as good or as great as it will be, more so than them. And that love of it was just such an encouraging, because you're absolutely right, Scott. Like, they're not doing this for like investor, type. Oh God, what
like IP farming and stuff like that.
Like the carrion birds hovering over the corpse of comics. That is not the Gold Key group. So that it was just encouraging and infectious to see how much they cared and really want to do right by the Gold Key name, by the properties, by Karloff, all of it.
Yeah. I'm excited. So I guess and Corey and Josh, if there's anything you want to jump in to, I don't want to monopolize the conversation, but there's just a lot I want to find out. I'm
loving it. Keep going.
I'm enjoying listening in.
So Arnold, I'm curious. You said you've had the shop for about a year, but so Gold Key. I'm trying to remember. Is it a couple years since you guys acquired the brand and everything, or what I'm getting at is I kind of want to know some of that journey, from getting it, that initial buzz surrounding that, and then everything from the trials and tribulations and now getting to the point where you're ready to launch. I mean, I take it hasn't been like a smooth kind of journey, but I'm just kind of curious how this whole thing came about, because it's just, like I said, it's just such a cool story for bringing back this brand, and I imagine a lot of it, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I imagine a lot of it was the time it's taken is just wanting to get everything right.
That is a lot of it. Another part of it is it's not cheap, and so there's always expenses along the way, and we're funding this ourselves, and so feel for all the thousands of creators that I've gotten to meet along this journey, because it's a passion project, as you well know, Scott.
Mhm.
It's a passion project.
We all know.
Yeah. I mean, I have since I opened the shop, my personal collection has gone down to a short box, and like 8 of those are young and dead. So
Nice.
I know what it takes to make that stuff. But Craig was saying that our love for comics, and certainly Mike is like a historian. He's from the old guard here locally in Phoenix of the comic collectors and dealers, and he's just a wealth of knowledge. And I'm still distracted from the opening of the show when Joshua mentioned Ghost World. So that's where my love lies. It's that area, Daniel Clowes and Chris Ware. I love that stuff as well.
Awesome.
You
I
just
think
mentioned
we get
Josh's
along.
2 favorite artists.
Yeah,
probably.
you say Chris Ware, it's like saying Fugazi. If you're talking music, I'm like, I'll go off for hours.
Yeah. I'm just now reading. I can't remember the name to save my life, but you'll know the artist Seth.
Oh yeah. Which one? Wimbledon Green or?
Yep, Wimbledon Green.
Yeah.
I'm like halfway through that. This is amazing.
I love his stuff. It's that old school, like it looks like Charles Schultz in the 50s. You know, it's
Absolutely.
so good.
And he looks like Charles Schultz in the 50s. Like he's always in a bespoke suit, slick back hair. Seth is such a gentleman, a kind person. +1 to Wimbledon Green and Clyde fans. If you haven't seen Clyde.
Yes, Clyde fans is amazing. Oh, Craig, also, I know you probably appreciate that, being that you worked on like Victorian era stuff where it's like there is like an
I was hoping you'd
appreciation
mention this.
of a dapper outfit. But the fact that you mentioned Victorian books, I'm working. I've done slice of life and autobio books, and I'm right now illustrating a historical fiction book about the Brownings and like spiritualism and seances and stuff. And it is insane doing books from that time period and the amount of research to draw them. It's nuts. But anyhow, hats off to you for having done that. It's a beast to do.
Thank you. I studied Victorian literature in school. That was my focus.
Oh, so then you know the Brownings.
Oh, yes. I know the
For sure.
Brownings very well. They're going to make a brief appearance in an upcoming issue of Some Strange Disturbances. But I'll tell you, like, I was worried that when I started scripting that, because I gave tons of visual reference in the pages. This is Gervasio, one of Jock's studio mates, draws it. And I thought, oh, Gervasio's going to hate me because I'm putting all this stuff in here and he's going to feel so restricted. And he was actually like, thank you so much for including that. Like,
Yes.
that saved me so much time.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's always interesting coming from a writer, like what you provide the artist with and how that artist responds to it, because I'm the kind of the same way that, oh, you give me the more reference, the more you can give me, the better.
Yeah.
Not that I've done, I mean, most of my stuff is all self-published, just me, so I don't collaborate a whole lot, but on the stuff that I do, I always do appreciate that. So yeah.
It's such a fun part of the process, and having worked with Gervasio and Jock all of these years, now they know they have carte blanche. As long as we're not changing the dialogue, they're an equal partner in the process. I want their involvement. I want them to feel like they're connected to it. And I will often start a book by just saying, tell me what you don't want to draw. And I won't put it there. But you get in that groove, you get in that rhythm. And so just like some of the stuff that Jock does, like he was like, I'm going to try something in the pages. Are you okay with that? And we're talking specifically about the short story that will be in Karloff. And I was like, okay, sure. And like when I got the pages back, it's so subtle, but it's like, I never would have thought to do that. And so it's just amazing that he's really taking the kernel of what he's given in the script and elevating it to a whole other level. And that's it's truly the rewarding part of the process. You can't have comics without that kismet between a writer and an artist, and you can
Yeah.
always tell when it isn't there. The lovely thing, again, having seen the rough cut of Karloff this morning, that kismet is on display in this book. So I'm really excited for you all to see it.
Yeah, I'm excited too, and I love horror anthologies. So I mean, I'm like super excited. Do we get some like, you know, O. Henry moments and things like that, like twists, like Twilight Zone type twists or anything like that? Or I mean, what's the? I mean,
I can speak for myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
I listen, all of those old anthology shows like Outer Limits, Night Gallery, Twilight Zone, that stuff is just baked into my DNA.
Okay.
So for my twin no more, you can definitely expect to see some of that.
Awesome. I mean, yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, the closest thing, like lately, I think I forgot who put it out. And I haven't been crazy about it, but they recently released Creepshow as a book. I forgot the company that put it out, and it's kind of hit or miss. There's some that are okay, and then some are just like, this just doesn't have it doesn't feel like, you know, like those old EC, you know, what it was based on. But I have a feeling you guys are going to do it right. So. And also the thing about that kind of Karloff era, like Universal and Hammer and all that kind of, I mean, it's just very, I don't know, there's an atmosphere to it, and hopefully that'll translate onto the page and everything.
I think Michael has smartly thought about, with real intention, what is the connective tissue of what's going on here, and the story that gets presented with Karloff himself, it will make it all clear how everything is related. Mm-hmm. It is related, and I won't tell you exactly how, but I think it's going to be a nice surprise for folks, and I think that it's going to give future issues some legs.
Awesome. So with that, if this is any kind of spoiler thing, you don't have to talk about. You mentioned a little bit though, but as far as you said Karloff isn't just the horror host in this, but is he also a host? I mean, does he kind of, is there like a connective tissue between the stories, which is Karloff, or?
Define what you mean by host.
Well, I would say like the Crypt Keeper or the Creep from Creepshow, or the, you know, all the EC Old Witch, all that kind of stuff. Kind of where you have sort of, and it doesn't have to be like Crypt Keeper where it's like, you know, really cringy jokes and things, but you know, obviously with Karloff we wouldn't want that. But I'm curious if he's in how. Without giving, because I don't want to be spoiled, but without, I mean, what can you tell me that I don't know?
You're really going to like the book.
Okay, that's good enough. That's
what I'll say.
All right. Okay, well then I got it. So you're launching next Tuesday. Is the book? I mean, how long am I going to have to wait for this after I back it and after the campaign runs out?
I think I chose, you know how you have to choose a date when they're going to be fulfilled. I was safe with it, and I think I said like in May.
Okay. I mean, wow, that's not bad.
Yeah, and the printing's lined up, and so we're looking to fulfill those orders pretty quickly. And there's a really good a friend of mine that I've known online, like the same message board since like 2001. We'll be handling some fulfillment on, you know, the fine prints. There's going to be some cool rewards and add-ons that are beyond the book that I'm really excited about as well. I'm excited for the Kickstarter for sure, and excited to get my own hands on what's coming.
Yeah, me too.
I
so
will say that the guys are really far ahead on the Kickstarter. I've done a couple of successful Kickstarters as well. And I always use that to fund the art. So I can show, like, you know, character sketches, but I can't show finished pages. Like the guys are really ready to roll by the
Good,
time the
good.
campaign is done. So they're very far ahead of the game. Now, again, that doesn't mean that we're not going to hit a paper shortage or something like that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So dates are always, TBD, but I have been very impressed with where things stand and how quickly they're going to be able to move.
Awesome. So
I'll give you
go ahead.
one preview, one nugget. Since our daughters played on the same soccer team.
Well, it was probably my son. I don't think my daughter ever played soccer.
Oh, I thought
Was it a co-ed team or?
it was his son. I have 3 daughters, so I always divert to that. But Mike was able to get a hold of. I don't know where he found it. He able to get a hold of the original contract. Not physically, but a picture of the original contract with Western Publishing and Boris Karloff. And I was like, we need to add that into the book. And so that's some of the extra type of things that we're looking to add, along with all the commentary and sketch art and actual stuff.
Wow.
That's cool.
That's cool.
Yeah,
So it's really gonna dig into like the history behind it too. That's awesome.
And I think it's really smart what you guys are doing, because you're going to be going into the comic book shops and everything, and you're going to have the floppies and everything like that. But launching it like this, where the Kickstarter folks, these early adopters and people that are going to jump on this on the Kickstarter, are getting something much more, because I could see, we're going to buy this artist edition and then still go to the shop and pick up the floppy.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty awesome. So now one of the reasons why, I guess last time you guys, we had all 4 of the founders on the show. The reason why those guys, the other 3, aren't here today is because you had mentioned how you're all kind of doing this. You're all doing your own kind of promotion for this Kickstarter. So I'm curious how that's going. And because I want this thing to go big, and I know you guys have a lot. You guys know people in the business. You're big time collectors and everything, and you kind of, you know that business before you started getting into the publishing. So how is that? How are those kind of connections coming into play, and how is that promotion going? And do you expect a pretty good launch here coming up?
I'm hoping. When you look at what you need, how many followers you need initially to meet certain goals, we're nowhere near that right now. I think we have maybe 300 followers right now, but we're getting lucky. There's creators out there that have retweeted our posts that have like hundreds of thousands of followers. And did I lose you?
You kind of pause, but I can hear you still.
Okay. So yeah, we're scratching and crawling and clawing at this as much as we can. We're boosting posts, and but yeah, the podcasts have been amazing, and so there's so many lined up. The 4 of us decided, you grab a creator, and you grab a creator, rather than 4 of us just jumping on each interview.
Yeah.
I'll say this too, like it's really, Arnold was talking about retweets and Scott, you mentioned like following the campaign as at this point before
link in the description.
Yeah, folks. Those are all helpful things that folks can do. But really, like the thing about Kickstarters that I think is really important for everyone to remember is it's not necessarily, it's kind of a balancing act between the amount that people are willing to give to the campaign versus the number of people that are backing it. And so in the grand scheme of things, I can tell you, again, given my own Kickstarter experience, that at the end of the day, it comes down to, did we hit the finish line? I know, having seen this book and hearing people talk about it online and just being generally excited, this Kickstarter is going to do really well. But I want to encourage you all, again, like I just said, please go and follow the Kickstarter page. When you see us posting about it on social media, retweet, share in your Instagram stories, do TikTok videos, share the love, because that does help. It does have an impact. And you'll probably get sick of hearing me talk about the Kickstarter campaign during March and April, because I will be talking about it all the time. But every little bit helps. And the other thing is, when the campaign does go live, it's, you know, it's always really helpful to back it early. Like, don't be that person who waits until the end and so that you can be the person who takes it over the finish line. Get in there early. Especially because, as Arnold said, there's going to be some, in addition to the artist edition of the book, there's going to be some really special content that you will only have access to as long as it's available. So if you wait, you may not get some of the extra stuff that you would like to get.
So
yeah, and go ahead, Josh.
I was just kind of curious, Craig, what is it like writing for a story where you're kind of representing an iconic kind of legend like Boris Karloff? Because I just think about it, like when I was a kid, I grew up watching, we used to watch Secret Life of Walter Mitty, the original.
Yes.
And he was in that. And he was in
Yes.
like everything. He was in every horror movie. And he's just this iconic figure. And then to kind of be sort of given this as something to write, like, how did you approach that? How do you kind of approach that with, like, yeah, how... Is that intimidating? Like when you first get the opportunity to get this, I just want to hear how that kind of went.
So I'll start with the story and then I'll come back to your question. So
Good.
My brother and I had a movie makeup book that we had as kids, and Boris Karloff was featured heavily in it. So like he's lived rent free in my mind since I was a child.
Yes.
So yes, and as someone who also like has been doing this for a long time, but doing my own stuff, it is you feel the tangible responsibility to represent him, to represent the family, to the best of your ability. And as I was saying before, like nobody wants this to be as successful as I do for that very reason. Like, there's a switch though that you have to flip when you're facing like this huge legacy. Like I mean, he is a cultural icon of horror, of cinema in general, and it is a huge responsibility, but you can't let that get in the way of making the thing, right? It's too easy to let that psych you out. So at a certain point, I just had to turn it off and be like, okay, I have 3 ideas that I could do. Shared those with Michael and Zane, and they were like, this is the one we'd really like you to go with, which I secretly buried in the middle because I knew it was going to be the one that they would go for. But then at that point, after they had signed off and after Arnold and the guys had signed off, it really alleviated any of that anxiety, because it was like, okay, this is the one that everybody believes in.
And you've got support there too. So
Yep. But you're absolutely right. There was a moment of like internal panic at the very at the very start of it. But when I got started with the scripting, you know, that was gone, and I had to let it go in order to just do the best and know that I was bringing my best to it, and I hope that translates to folks who get the book.
And then one question about the art too, Arnold, because like I know that Scott probably was thinking the same exact thing. When you say Boris Karloff, I think I really want to draw that. I mean, he's such a fun. He's got a face that would be fun to draw. He's just like an iconic, drawable guy. How stoked were the artists who got to draw Boris? Like,
they jumped on, and no one said no. So, and even in Johnny Dombrowski, I don't know if I should share this, but when Sarah saw the cover, she was like, "That's not quite my dad's chin," and he was like, "No problem, change it." She was happy, and when we saw her this week and she even the first
Oh,
thing
we
she said
just-
was, "And thank you
You
for
kind of break
changing."
it up a little bit.
Yeah, we
My
just
dad
lost
is
what you
cheating.
said.
So it's
Yeah, your connection's going in and out a little bit, Arnold, but
I would say the artists probably have
think
more
they're-
anxiety around
So-
around it than
Yeah.
very much.
Yeah, that's understandable because it's such a like iconic face that you wouldn't want to get it wrong. And it's funny, we're getting a lot of our artists
sorry about
that
that,
follow
guys.
us are talking about how much
Yeah.
they love drawing Karloff.
we did. Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, I've drawn Frankenstein so many times. I mean, you know, I think our friend Kevin Cross has probably drawn him more than anyone, but.
True. Yeah.
But there was a question kind of here as far as we were talking about some of the stuff you're planning on publishing, but wanting to know, and I don't know, Arnold, if your connection's still any good, but they wanted to know if you're open to like mini series and micro series and things like that. And I mean, what's your policy on like submission? What kind of stuff are you looking at, or what kind of stuff are you asking to see, if anything? Oh, you're muted now, it looks like, Arnold. You're muted, Arnold. Do you see that there should, there's a down below, there's a thing that says mute.
You can unmute him there.
Oh, I can unmute him? Okay. How do I do that?
I tried to unmute him, it wouldn't let me.
Oh, really?
I can say I know that they have been talking about lots of different formats.
Okay.
Okay.
You know, I know that Karloff is seen as, you know, ongoing as long as it will go. But I know there are different formats of books that the guys have been talking about.
Yeah, I remember talking to Arnold at the Phoenix Fan Fusion, and he kind of mentioned, you know, kind of the possibility. I think he's trying to create a balance with just being open to possibilities, but also keeping it close to the brand. So I would assume, I don't want to speak for Arnold, but I would assume if it works, if it's something that works, you know, hopefully he'll be logging back on.
Yeah, and as you mentioned at the top, right, as we were talking about, like what was my sort of initial touch point for Gold Key, right? They did multiple genres, and now part of the modernity of this new iteration with Arnold and the guys is that they're not just experimenting with genre, like they're really deeply investigating formats as well, because we know the market is not all about floppies, and it's not all about ongoing series. It's not all about mini series. There's lots of different things to be done. Now, to what state that's going to manifest, I can't speak to that, but I know that that they are very much interested in being as innovative and creative as possible when it comes to how things are going to be packaged.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, there was a follow-up question as far as and it's, since Arnold here, I don't know if we can answer it, but it just, as far as submissions, say being over 200 completed pages, I think, if I'm correct, I think like Arnold said earlier, some of the stuff they kind of are looking for shovel ready. So if you already have something ready to go, that's kind of what they're looking for. But also, I mean, with something like this title, I mean, they're putting together the team and they're creating it. So it's probably a little bit of, I mean, again, I don't want to speak for Arnold, but it's probably, you know, whatever's best for the brand. If it's a mini series or something and it's amazing and it fits with Gold Key, I'm sure they'd be open to it, you know, but again, they're getting started. So yeah.
And I would say, I don't know, for the person who asked the question, that's a great question. What I would ask, and I don't know the answer to this, is by 200 pages, do we mean 200 script pages, or do we mean 200 pages of actual comic content? And it looks like Arnold's back, so maybe he can address that.
Yeah. So we had some questions, Arnold, about kind of what you're looking for as far as if any kind of submissions and things. And there was when we mentioned like mini series and things like that, and there was a comment about the submissions being over 200 completed pages. And I had said, like you said, I mean, some of the stuff you're looking for kind of shovel ready stuff, but I would imagine if the idea is great and if it fits, then you'd be open to it. But I don't know when you're talking about 200 completed pages, what do you guys kind of mean by that as far as people that are looking to maybe get you guys to look at their work?
Yeah, and for real, if someone had like an amazing idea, we wouldn't, and it would take our team and Zane and Craig to develop it. We would certainly make that effort. But it's just so much easier to the time involved. If someone had said, hey, I've been working on this series, I've got 6 issues completed, and it's fantastic, then that's just many steps ahead.
Yeah. And also, like with any publishing, and I don't know, the person asking, I don't know what their idea or their book's about, but just, I mean, you've got to, and there is a wide spectrum of the stuff that Gold Key has published and what you guys are looking to publish, but it still has to fit with that, So, I mean, if it's something that's like, more of a manga style, maybe it doesn't fit with a Gold Key, that kind of classic vibe. So,
Sure.
Just take all that in consideration. Know who you're kind of publishing it to, because a lot of times as artists, we're just like, oh, anyone that's willing to publish this, I'm going to try to get it in front of them, but it doesn't always work for everybody. But
yeah, and when you're looking for publishers too, you want it to be a win-win for both people, right? You don't want to end up with a publisher who doesn't know how to market your book, and they don't want to end up with a book they don't know how to market, right? So you want to make sure like you're fitting the feel of like whatever the publisher is that you're seeking. So yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. Scott, you made a great point. I think that it really is specific to getting a feel for what the publisher is releasing in order to, do your homework, basically, is what we're saying. And as early stages as the guys are, I think people will start to have a really good sense of what might be a fit in the next couple of months.
Yeah. I'm excited. I can't wait. So what I want with a book like this with Boris Karloff, I mean, you're kind of, you've got in marketing this, and hopefully, like I just want this thing to be a huge success, this Kickstarter launch, and I think there's a lot of people that if they that aren't already familiar, once they know that Gold Key's coming back, I think there's just going to be a lot of talk about that, and hopefully that talk will spread and everything will go viral. But in addition to that, I mean, you've got all the lovers of classic comics, people that fondly remember Gold Key, but you've also had that horror angle. I mean, all people that maybe you've never bought a comic before. How are you approaching that market? The fans of Karloff, the fans of classic horror and stuff like that. Are you tapping into that market as well?
We are. There's so many, horror specific, Karloff specific, classic Hollywood horror specific, whether they're Facebook groups or just fan clubs that we've contacted, and because that's a very important demographic, is people like I'd love for this to be the first time someone bought a comic book because they're a Boris Karloff fan. They might not have known that there's Boris Karloff comic books out there to be had. So
That's awesome.
I would just add, like, that just speaks to, if folks don't know Arnold and the guys, that just speaks to the level of work that they're doing. Like it is in many ways grassroots. It's about fans. It's about connecting to people, not just comic book fans, but fans of the original source material, and just being really intentional about the way that they're working to bring everybody into this book. And I think what they've put together really does sort of transcend audience type, and so I'm grateful to hear that level of involvement with fan groups and specific types of podcasts and video chats, but just being truly fan oriented. It's not always the way that things are approached. So again, you're seeing how things are being done differently. So it's exciting. It's an exciting time for Gold Key, but it's also really exciting to be involved with them in this effort.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
One thing I could add about doing things a little different is Boris was one of the original creators of SAG, and so in his time, actors were just, as his daughter put it, just pieces of flesh, like just had no value. And the stories behind the creation of SAG was literally like that was a secret operation. They risked their entire careers, and maybe even more, creating that union for actors. And he was one of the founding members. So we found out recently that there's actually a Boris Karloff project on Kickstarter right now, and it's going to end a couple days after ours. And so we've been in contact with them, and we're actually.
I was going to say, you got to reach out to them because you scratch your back, I'll scratch my type of thing.
But this is again that community element that the guys are bringing to this. It's not just saying, our campaign is more important than yours. It's really building those relationships and recognizing that one does not dominate the other. They work in support of each other.
Yeah, like a rising tide can raise all ships rather than our ships are fighting and we're both going to sink.
It's incredibly refreshing.
That is refreshing.
And that other company is a much bigger ship than us, so staying along.
Yeah, there was we kind of touched on this, but I'll just bring it again. Philip Chandler wanted to know about the old style painted covers, but yeah, I mean we did kind of touch on that you are going to have some of those old classic painted covers, and again the other thing
can we at this point recommend Jeff Lafferty too if you guys ever need like just badass?
He would do an amazing job if
horror specifically. Oh my gosh.
We might have
he
to
would be
see
available.
If he'd be available, and if he, because he does that. He does that classic stuff so well.
Yeah.
I just texted Jeff Lafferty to Lance right now. He won't know what it means, but
you guys will, like, if you see his work, you'll be like, yeah, that would fit.
Yeah. He's very much inspired by he does a number of different looks, but he's very inspired by like a Drew Struzan and stuff like that.
Oh wow, okay. I'm looking at his Instagram account right now.
Yeah. He sometimes he can if Jeff, if you're watching, I apologize, but sometimes he can be a little curmudgeon, so you got to get him on a good day.
That's just occupational hazard of comics, isn't it?
That's honestly all of us cartoonists.
No, Jeff actually started this show, the Artcasters. He was one of the original hosts and stuff. So, yeah. Our other friend Kevin, he would do amazing stuff too, but he's kind of doing some different stuff too. The two guys that we started the show off with, but I'll just pop that up here. Where is that? Yeah, both of those guys. Yeah, and I know Kevin's a big fan of Gold Key as well. So, where was I gonna? There was some direction I was gonna go with that. Now I'm kind of. I forgot where I was going to go.
Did I send you in a completely different direction, Scott?
No. Oh, I know what I was going to say. Because the other thing, because Arnold has a graphic design background. That's his. I mean, I think he's probably been an art director at pretty much every ad agency in Arizona, if I'm right. Because I think he had an email that was AZ art director. Because I know he called me up and like I'm over at this ad agency. Can you come in and we want to talk about this project? And then the next thing I know, he's somewhere else, and he kind of moved around before now he's kind of just doing his own stuff. But yeah. So, but all that is to say that not only is Gold Key famous for those painted covers, but they're also famous for their graphic design aesthetic.
Yes.
And I know, hopefully I know we're going to see a lot of that because, Arnold's an amazing graphic designer as well. So
Arnold, real quick question on that, the graphic design elements of it. What are you like retain, at least so far, what you've executed? What are you kind of like intent on kind of keeping about Gold Key? And then how are you trying to kind of innovate like on a design level? Is that too weird of a question or?
No, it's not too weird. And So I'll be doing all the layouts, actually the layouts of the book, and and InDesign. And so we've talked about, you could buy all kinds of tchotchkes, the X-ray vision glasses and that sort of thing. So then
Yes.
even this is another inside thing, how cool would it be to have like a form of Mark Jeweler insert? So like there's stuff we're talking about and stuff we played around with, but I haven't put a whole lot of that sort of. So most of the graphic design work that I've done last year has been towards marketing, the business, and less in the actual pages so far of the book. So more to come on that. But we do talk about it. We meet every Friday morning, the four of us. I work with Lance every day, so we're constantly, hey, wouldn't this be cool? And or this design would be perfect for this little thing in the book. And so we're constantly like bouncing those ideas.
I love that. I also love I mean, Scott, and I think Corey, Scott, and I all share like a complete adoration for like old ads and comics and stuff too. And so that just the fact that you were kind of mentioning that is pretty exciting too. If that
a lot of what I'm going to be doing in the future kind of taps into that. I won't say too much more than that, but it's definitely the direction that I'm planning on heading into, because I love all that.
The new direction that Scott is heading.
Okay, so this is we'll have to fill you guys in, because this is kind of the running gag. So I don't know. Go ahead, Josh. So anyone that's not familiar probably.
It just doesn't sound nice. It's somebody had pointed out that if you say taking things in a new direction, it can sound like a nude erection, and so and
now I can't.
Arnold,
can't unhear it now.
Director too. So it's like I have been in like meetings, like really power meetings with like big clients, and they're like, "All right, guys, we're gonna take this conversation in a new direction," and and I'm sitting there like. I don't know. I haven't matured since 7th grade. I apologize for it. But now that I've told you, you will never not hear that. That's the problem.
This is why enunciation is very important.
Yeah. True.
You have to
now in every meeting I'm ever in, I will be like, a new
yeah. Well, there's that book about grammar called Eat, Shoots, and Leaves.
Yes.
Well, there needs to be another book about enunciation called New Direction. So
I feel like people need to collect a book of memes, because there's so many memes about bad kerning that where just really poorly kerned words look like they're saying something entirely different. It would be cool to do a whole book of that too.
I'd be surprised if it hasn't been done, since there's so
Let's
see.
I think you can probably even put in your vote now, Joshua, for some of the design stuff to be in the back matter of the artist edition as well.
Ooh, yeah, that would be beautiful.
Yeah, When we get off
there's so many iconic designs from that company.
When we end the call, guys, don't just jump off, because there's some stuff I want to talk to you off the show. But So, I mean, you're kind of hinting at maybe having the look of some of those old ads and things. So are the books going to be ad supported? And how do you go about, if that's the case, how do you go about finding like current companies that are going to advertise that kind of, are you taking that into consideration, that maybe we want them to kind of look, or maybe you could take a modern company and kind of give them an old school ad to fit with it? Is that something you guys are considering? Or
I would like to mandate that we design all ads.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
That's my hope. Or we have like roughly 2 pages, which is like 4 actual pages of a page that we can do, what we'd like with. So at least 2 of those are probably going to be promoting the next titles and other titles. So I don't want a book, full of ads, but I do want them to match not just the old aesthetic, but whatever this morphs into. Always honor the old aesthetic.
So
that's awesome.
I have a genre question. I know you can't give a lot away, but are you guys planning on doing any detective fiction type books? Because I know that was a little bit of Gold Key. And then also, are you guys planning on doing any war comics? like old timey war comics?
We have our original title is, I would say it's like a gothic western, maybe. It's
Oh, cool. Okay.
super cool. Working with a local author there doing the writing. The other two titles that are behind Boris Karloff are equally as recognizable, if not even a little, more. With Boris Karloff, like with, my wife, my daughters might be like, "Who is that?" And I'm like, "Who?
Yeah.
You see the Grinch? Like he did
Yeah.
this of the Grinch."
Frankenstein.
Yeah. Like, oh yeah, okay. So, but yeah, I'm so excited. Scott, I'll let you know, as soon as I can on this
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
So.
Okay. Did you say that it was something that Gold Key published before, or can you say, or is it something different that's just as equally popular?
Yeah, one was 60s and 70s, and one was just 70s. So
okay, awesome.
Interesting.
Okay.
That's the only hint.
Now I'm really curious.
And I think we talked about this on the last show, but I mean, Gold Key was kind of the pardon the pun, like the gold standard of like licensed books back in the day. Since then, I mean, like almost every book is licensed. So I mean, that's kind of the problem you go into nowadays, is that everything's already, somebody's picked up pretty much every license. I mean, how many books that Gold Key published are now published by some other company?
Yeah.
all
the Magnus Robot Fighters, all that kind of stuff like that.
Yeah, there's just a few. I mean, imagine like a modern, more dark and sinister, wacky witch. There are titles out there that are still. We're in the process of retaining a comic specific lawyer to help us with all the stuff that we want to do. We're really looking forward to that. Are you
guys keeping an eye on things that maybe, if that license, if the license, somebody else has it and it happens to end, if it's going to end or anything or maybe, I don't even know how you would know that, but honestly,
no, only because like it's so grassroots right now.
Yeah.
We're not at that level.
Yeah. But that's good. I mean, I think kind of what you've hinted at and kind of already what you're doing with Boris as far as launching this thing. It's like you guys are definitely on the right track. And I think once people see what you're putting out, then I think that's going to open some doors and stuff with,
I just want to start, subtly suggesting some other routes too, because that's amazing. I'm just saying aesthetically,
that's probably not trademarked either.
Yeah, but if you guys ever get bored, you should like go down the rabbit hole of checking out Gold Key covers, especially if you're like us and like really old, like amazing pulpy stuff. There's great licensed stuff, but there's just amazing, like incredible stuff to look at.
Yeah.
But this speaks to what Gold Key is really doing, right? Like we're sitting here riffing on things that are exciting to us about like what they've done in the past and just like a whole gamut of stuff. And Arnold and the guys are in a very enviable position because at this point, you're starting with a big win with Karloff.
Oh, that's a huge win. Yeah.
And then the universe is really your oyster in terms of like the broad spectrum of what's available. So I'm not just saying this because I'm in the book, but like I am genuinely excited from just like design micro level conversation to like a business macro level conversation to see how things develop for Gold Key. And I do believe that it'll be something for everyone to be watching.
Yeah, and also you're gonna be going in with one of the best logos in the industry. So there's you don't have a bad starting point there, Yeah.
And I will say I just got my Gold Key skull t-shirt in the mail. And go to the Gold Key website and look at some of the swag because, and Arnold, I'm assuming that you designed these, but I love my skull. What?
I would have sent you one. You shouldn't have bought it.
Do you have those in the shop?
Oh, no, I got
that'll
excited.
give me a reason to come out to the
I
shop.
saw it and wanted it.
Awesome.
Do you have them in the shop, Arnold? Because that'll give
We-
me a reason to come out to the shop.
We actually don't. We did,
You
but we
don't?
had to switch to a different model for that.
Okay. Well, I got this one, but I'll have to go look at. I haven't looked at the website
Sure,
in a while, so I'll have to go
grab it.
there. And, yeah. Okay, I'll get to see that. Yeah. But so we are getting close to our hour and a half, so we want to probably start like wrapping things up. But I want to make sure you guys mention anything that we didn't get to cut. Oh, that looks great. I love it. I love it.
So
Oh, cool.
go to the website and order yours now.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
All right. So when Craig was out going to grab the T-shirt, I was just mentioning how we're getting close to our hour and a half, and I want to start wrapping things up and everything. But I want to make sure if there's anything we didn't talk about or something that you wanted to point out or anything like that.
Oh, while they're doing that
yeah.
too, I don't know if I can pull this up. Can you guys see this? I was just
Oh
going to
yeah.
show
Here
off
we
some
go.
of their
Oh,
swag.
nice. Yeah. Oh wow, that's cool.
So there's some of the swag you guys can
Look at
get,
that
and look
bucket
at
hat.
that beautiful logo. And I love
the corner box. The corner box.
we mentioned this
design.
the last time, Arnold, but like we know it's in good hands because you guys didn't destroy the logo. You improved it and kept it like with the vibe. And that's hard. Like that's a hard thing to do, but it's like just what you guys have done with the look. So I'm confident it's going to be awesome. Sorry. Anyhow,
Yeah, it's
very
great.
cool.
I appreciate that, guys. That's awesome. And
Yeah.
Okay.
appreciate the shout out to the shop too.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. Again, if you're, we'll go around and we'll promote everything again. So, anything you wanted to mention about the topic about Golki coming back before we start wrapping things up?
Watch this space.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Really.
We'll get to that. Well, we did leave a link to where the Kickstarter is going to be. It launches. You said Tuesday, right?
It launches Tuesday, and keep your eye out too, just to the socials because I'll be editing the interview. We shot like a 3-camera interview with Sarah Karloff, and
I was going to ask if that's what you were leading to. Yeah, because I'd like to see that.
I'm quite certain that Mike was the interviewer, and I'm sure that he dug a little out of her because she's been interviewed a million times, but
yeah.
Sure towards the end you've got some stuff that even the biggest Boris Karloff fans are going to find interesting.
That's awesome.
That's amazing.
Nice. All right. Okay.
Thank you all for doing that. That's exciting to me. I didn't know you all were doing that.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, I didn't even think about it when you said you had dinner with her and everything, and like, if you got a chance to like actually record some stuff with her, that'd be great. So yeah, I'm anxious to see that. Now I got to get on social media.
Arnold, what was her drink of choice?
Tito's.
Okay.
Oh wow. Okay.
You're straight
On the rocks.
on the rocks. Okay.
Classy.
So cool.
All right. So let's see what order we want to do this. I'm gonna start with Corey, and then I'm gonna go to Josh, and then we'll get to you guys, and we'll have you close it out, and then I'll just wrap everything up. Corey, what do you got to promote, or anything else you wanted to say before we?
No, I'm super excited about everything that these guys are talking about and everything that's coming out. So yeah, I don't have anything to add. I was more of a listener and participant in this one, but it's rad. Yeah, as far as promotion, same old stuff. Jump on to CoreyCar.com and go check that out. So there's a store there. There's some comics. We'll have a new animation up in a couple days. So, oh, I forgot. Yeah, I'm doing that intentional creativity thing. I should be having another one of those.
Oh, cool.
Videos out in the next probably 72 hours. I think I've got that one ready. So it's a 4-part series. We've got the first 2 parts out. Kind of scientifically backed and proven methods to decrease stress, anxiety, and increase creativity and creative thinking and kind of execution of those types of ideas. And so ran some students through a program, and I got incredible results. And so now I'm putting it on YouTube. So check that out if you haven't. And you can get that at CoreyCar.com/email and just jump on the email newsletter there.
Josh.
Awesome. Yeah. So I thanks to Craig and Arnold and Craig. It's always awesome to meet a brother in Zarek. We're the few who remember what that was.
Yeah, and I think not to put a damper on all that for you, Josh, but I think Craig kind of one-upped you a little bit because he's also an Ignatz nominee.
Yeah, that's a good one up for sure. And Ignatz is one of the best comic characters ever. Anyhow, so check out Jacob's Apartment if you like slice of life indie comics. And actually, speaking of really cool publishers, it was put out by Graphic Mundi, which is a relatively new publisher, but everything they've been putting out is phenomenal. So even if you don't get my book, go check them out as well. And also Two Stories, which is my graphic novel about faith and mental illness. And then also make sure you're subscribed to my channel as well, because I'm going to be doing live games of Risk, weird historical fiction graphic novels about Victorian era poets, but not telling the typical Browning story where it's just the romance. This is more about the loss of her brother and getting obsessed with seances and a lot of interesting things that we found from her letters. And other than that, yeah, that's it. But I will tell you guys, I am so excited about Gold Key. And if you guys are watching, just look at the long history of Gold Key, the aesthetic of it, the fact that this is going to be reborn with Boris Karloff as the intro is really exciting. And also very appropriate for Boris Karloff because you're like raising it. It's great.
Resurrecting.
Yes.
All right, Craig, it was great having you on. Great meeting you and everything. So
Thank
what
you
do you
so much
what do
for
you want to
having
talk?
me.
What do you want to promote or anything besides obviously?
Well, you can see my web address under my name here, hspcomics.com. I've got some free comics there, as well as a store. My latest book is called Ernest and Iva, and to Joshua's point about the comic about mental illness, it is a slice of life story about my great-grandfather and the impact of the Spanish flu epidemic of 1918 on my family and how that played itself forward to our most recent COVID pandemic. So I'm very excited about that one. It's illustrated by Sarah Warrington, who is an animator, and I imagined it as like an Alfred Hitchcock one-shot movie. So from start to end, the character is moving through one narrative across time. So I'm excited about that. Obviously, I've got my twin No More in the first issue of Karloff with my pal Jock. We are also finishing up a book called The Lodger, which is set in the 1950s, and it is about a case of possession that isn't exactly what it seems. And I'm working on some other things that I can't talk about yet. But as I said, watch this space.
That's awesome, Craig.
I love it.
All right, Arnold.
Thank you, Scott, Corey, and Joshua. Really appreciate you guys having us on once again for a much more sober interview.
All right, so we have to make an agreement that the next one we're all going to be drunk, like every single one of us except Corey because he doesn't drink. But
this was
everyone else
filled with rum and Coke. But
oh, Scott, you screwed up the whole thing.
I pour light though, so I'm okay.
And Craig, thank you for coming on. With
Oh
me.
my gosh, thanks for having me. I'm excited. Like I said, you will all be sick of hearing me talk about this Kickstarter and the book. I'm so excited for it, and I would be excited for it even if I wasn't involved. This is a huge comeback. It's an exciting time for horror in general, but horror comics specifically, and Karloff is going to rightfully take its spot in our contemporary horror comics oeuvre, if you will.
And if I promote anything, it's goldkeycomics.com. There's a link to the Kickstarter, and then I would just say follow Michael Conrad on Twitter, because then you have access to everything. He just retweets all his friends and projects he likes, and So there you go. That's like a human bookmark there.
Yeah, and there's a direct link to the Kickstarter in the description. If you're watching this today or before Tuesday, all you do is click a thing saying notify me. If you're watching it after that, and if it's not too far after that, then you'll be taken right to the Kickstarter campaign, and I can't wait. I'm ready because you guys know just as much as me. I haven't seen anything, so I'm just anxious to see what we're going to see when that Kickstarter launches. So I'll be there.
Good.
Yeah.
And thanks to everybody that's watching for the support, because Kickstarters they live and die by fan interest and involvement. So just shout out to everyone that's already watching, and back early, retweet, back often.
Yeah, I can guarantee you're going to be happy with what you get, because I just know in talking to Arnold and the other guys and what they've been working on for the past couple of years as far as bringing Gold Key back, and it's just awesome that it's got to that point. So as far as me, you can find me here on my YouTube channel, where you will also find a number of videos just talking about, giving inspiration and ideas and advice on art, as well as comics. Specifically, I got my series called Making Comics 101. It's the most comprehensive course you're going to find that's free anyway, and definitely on YouTube. So definitely check that out if you're interested in how to make comics, and you can watch it all the way through, or you can just pick out what you want. If you just want to learn about inking, there's an episode on inking. If you want to learn about lettering, and so on and so forth. Also at my website at circworks.com, I have a number of digital tools that will help you create comics, like templates and fonts and all kinds of cool stuff. Just check those out. And you'll find my comic book, Young and the Dead. It's a kids versus zombie adventure story. Think Goonies meets Night of the Living Dead. So if you're into that kind of thing, it's set in the 80s. It's definitely got that vibe, Goonies, Monster Squad, all that kind of stuff. And then this show, we do this show every single week, typically. And it's usually, a lot of times it's on Thursdays, typically. Sometimes it might be on a Wednesday. But the other thing that's a little confusing is that it's not just here on my channel. It's some days it's on Josh's channel. Some days it's on Corey's channel. But if you want to know whose channel it's going to be on, who the guest is going to be, what day it's going to be, what the topic's going to be, all that kind of stuff, just join our mailing list. There's a link also in the description for that. We don't spam you or anything. Usually all we do is like once a week before we go live, we send out like 30 minutes before we go live or so, we'll send out just a newsletter letting you know where you can find us, because YouTube doesn't always notify yourself. Having said that, next week we will be back, but it's going to be Josh. And do we want to mention who's going to be co-hosting with you next week?
We have surprising co-hosts, but yeah. I will drop the guest. We're going to have Paul Pate, who's going to get in depth about his Detective Sanchez stories. So yeah, you guys should check that out.
And Corey, and the reason Corey and I won't be on the next episode is we will be in Columbus, Georgia, for Creative South. So if you're going to Creative South, definitely find us. Other than that, yeah, I mean, maybe you'll see us around.
Scott, are you going to be wearing
your
lab coat there?
I don't. Last year I did. I don't know that I will this year.
Okay, because I was like, that does make it easy for people to find you.
And it's a really good conversation starter. I haven't decided whether I'm going to wear it or not, but we'll see about that. So, but anyway, yeah, definitely check out the links to the Artcasters. Check out the links to the Kickstarter. Thank you to everyone in the chat. All the great questions and everything in the conversation you guys got going on over there, and anyone that's watching the show after the fact, we appreciate you too. So, so hopefully, next time we have Gold Key on, we're going to be talking about what a massive success this was and all these new books and stuff they have coming on. So we definitely want to have you guys back. So thanks for coming on, and we will see everyone. Oh, Josh will see you guys next week, unless you guys meet up with me and Corey in Georgia. We'll see you in a couple weeks. Later, everyone.
Yeah.